Ukrainian Dynamics 365 and Power Platform user group. Here we engage in an insightful discussions on various technical topics about the Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, plus a bit of associated technology stack. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed community leaders, Elizabeth Akinfer, Maxim Panemarov, and Valentin Kasanko, for their invaluable contribution to the growth and development of our community. We would like to inform you that today's event is being recorded and you can access the video later on our YouTube channel. Today's meetup will focus on a solution layer for plugin assemblies presented by Dmytro Klieshchov. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we hope that you will find the session both informative and engaging. Dmitry, floor is yours.
Thank you, Maxim. Thank you. Yep. Hello, everyone. Yep. So today we're going to talk about solution layers and refresh our memories on how they work in general, and focus on plugin assemblies and how they interact with solution layers, both managed layers and unmanaged. So let's start. So who am I first of all? My name is Dmytro Klieshchov. I have 9+ years of experience with Dynamics CRM, hands-on development experience, and these years I'm just helping clients with all sorts of things, started from designing to building and implementing their solutions. So what we're going to discuss today, first of all, we'll refresh our memory on what is a solution layer exactly. We'll look at the plugin structure in Dynamics. Maybe most of you have created a plugin or two in your career, but most likely not everyone have actually wondered how the plugins are stored in your Dynamics database or Dataverse. And we'll look at a couple of scenarios and look at how things can go terribly wrong with how you manage your solution structure and how you organize your plugin assemblies. So the main audience for this talk is entry to mid-level developers, as well as technical consultants, and senior developers and experienced developers can maybe just refresh their memory and find out something they don't know about yet or forgot about. So the format of this talk is a slideshow, and I tried to add some jokes that are supposed to be funny, but we'll see how it goes. And the special thanks goes to XRM Toolbox SQL for CDS and Microsoft in general, as well as to a couple of image generating AI models, as well as photo stocks. So how can this talk and what we're going to discuss today, how can this help in your work? Well, first of all, you may gain a better general understanding of the processes that are happening in your company. Or maybe you're taking over an existing project and you're stuck with the solution structure they have, and you can understand better what you can or cannot do. Or maybe you're designing a new solution, and that might also help you. So let's get started and jump right in. Yeah, so whenever we work in a company, we strive to achieve a goal, right? For somebody, it's changing our world to a better place, and for someone, it's just about making money. And well, I've asked AI models to imagine what can be done, like what is a positive outcome of Dynamics CRM on our world, and what is the not so optimistic one. So this is not an optimistic outcome. We can see that it's complete disaster, right? And maybe we won't see it in our real lives, but it's pretty much depicts of what can be done by us if we do things wrongly. And well, this is an imagination of machines of what can productive system can lead to, right? Okay, so let's go to a solution layer and discuss them. So what is a solution layer exactly? The solution layer is a change set for your components created within a solution, right? And the solution layers can be either managed or unmanaged or active solution layer. Whenever you have multiple solution layers, two different strategies are applied to your components. Usually it's the last one wins, so whatever solution layer is on top will take effect and users will see it. Or merge logic is implemented, which means that a bunch of parts from your component are kind of scrambled and merged together and presented to the user, independent on what solution layer they are. Merge logic is used in forums, for example. You can read more about those strategies visiting the links below. And also another thing to important thing to understand is that not every component actually has a solution layer. So if you can add a component and move it between environments, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will have a solution layer if you change it. For example, the entity doesn't really have a solution layer. You cannot check these solution layers for your entities. So yeah, if you imagine the solution layers as a layered cake, you can basically see how the changes are layered on top of each other. So the bottom layer would be a system layer, which cannot really be changed, and we cannot delete this layer rather because system requires it to function properly. But we can add more things on top of that layer. And if you set up a database with the sales module and maybe a couple of other modules installed, what you'll actually see if you check the solution layers for your components is that there's quite a lot of solution layers already present without you actually doing anything inside. So this is what we see when we check solution layers in our Maker portal. What you can do to check solution layers, you can just open any solution, select the component, and click on see solution layers. Not pretty standard stuff, right? But yeah, so we can see that solutions are applied here from bottom to the top, as I said before. So the top and the main solution layer would be this one currently. Yeah, and now we're going to talk about active layers a little bit. So if we imagine the managed layers as layers in your cake, then active layer can be imagined as a candle on top. And if you want to add more layers to your cake, you have to remove the candle first. Otherwise, the cake will be spoiled. And yeah, nobody does that, right? And it's not possible in Dynamics either. Yeah, so what is an active layer exactly? Active layer is basically a customization that's done directly in your environment, right? If you use a default solution to customize something, you create an active layer. If you install an unmanaged solution into your environment, it puts all the changes into active layer. And whenever you have active layer for your components, you cannot really apply new managed layers in most cases. What happens is that you can import your managed solution. The import will be successful, but the changes will not take effect until you remove the active layer. This is oftenly this is the most common case of hey, I did an import. Why my component didn't change, right? Probably happened to all of us. Okay. So we covered the solution layers, and let's jump to plugins, right? As I mentioned before, probably most of us have written a plugin or two in our career, but so we won't really look at how to create a plugin or register it, but we'll look at how they're organized and stored within Dynamics. So if we look at the plugin registration tool, what we can see here is actually this is our assembly right on the top, right? And this is your DLL or class library. And if we expand this assembly, we can see plugins, which represent your plugin classes in your assembly. And if we expand this one, we can register plugin steps, which basically are events that trigger your plugin. And then we can also have images for those plugin steps. So the overall structure would look pretty much like this, right? Plugin assembly is the main one, and then the hierarchy goes down like this. If we look at the database itself, I'm using SQL for CDS plugin, by the way, for XRM Toolbox. If you're not familiar with it, I highly advise it. Very, very, very useful. So if we look at the entities inside our Dynamics database, we can see that there is an entity called a plugin assembly. And basically, it represents the plugin itself, the DLL itself. And the interesting part is that, well, everything in Dynamics is an entity, right? Even your like highly technical stuff like plugin assemblies, you can find them in entities in your database, it turns out. And the content of your plugin is actually stored in the content field as a base64 encoded string. So sometimes if you want to recover a plugin DLL that you don't have but would really want to, you might not necessarily need to export a solution with that plugin. You can just download it from a content file here. The other entity would be a plugin type entity, which represents your plugin class. I didn't find any useful information inside it. Mostly it's used for data representation probably, and just to relate your assembly with your plugin steps. Yeah, and the most interesting one for us is the plugin step entity. It has all the data for our plugin step, like messages, filtering attributes, stages, primary, secondary entities, and secure configuration reference, and yeah, that's basically what defines how your plugin will work. These entities are read-only, by the way. We don't really want to update them, even if the system lets us do this, which I highly doubt. I didn't try. There are also a bunch of other related entities in Dataverse. Well, you can see the list here. You can also access images this way. You can access secure configuration this way, and there's also a bunch of other SDK message entities that are helpful to the plugins. If you have time and desire, you can always go through and look through them and see what's inside. Yeah. So, for example, if sometime you have a need to get a list of all the plugins or get a list of all the processing steps, or just analyze your plugin data somehow in the system, you can always use those entities without doing some weird analysis in your plugin registration tool. Yeah, so that covers general overview of how the plugins are stored in our database. So we can just go and look at a couple of scenarios I find interesting. Some of those I have encountered in my real work, and some of those, well, I just know of that we shouldn't really follow them, right? Okay, so imagine one day business comes and tells you to create a plugin. For our intents and purposes, the plugin will be pretty simple, right? What we'll do is that we'll just set the value of this field to a constant value, right? So we create this plugin and we import the plugin to a solution, to your production environment in the form of a managed solution. Sorry. Yep. So we do the import and it works perfectly. We can see that the value is being set and well, all's good. Task closed, and today was a good day for a developer. Yep. So a day or a week or a month comes by and business comes, maybe not to you, maybe to another person or even another team, because sometimes developer can work in multiple teams across the globe, right? And they come and tell them, okay, so now we have to create another plugin that also does some work inside for the contact entity. And well, being the in general your whole team, right? And you already have an assembly for your plugin, so you decide to add the plugin there. But you don't really want to combine your changes with the previous solution because it comes from a different line of business or it comes from a different department, and well, you'd rather just have this plugin in your own solution. So you create this plugin and you import it, and it perfectly works too, right? You can see that it works. So everything's good. And then another week comes by and you create another plugin with the similar things, right? And you also import it in another solution. So currently you have 3 different solutions which contain the same assembly, but they contain different plugin steps in each other. All right. And then imagine a day comes where a business comes to the first person and says, okay, now we have to do another logic. We have to implement another logic in your plugins. And developer thinks, okay, I'll create another plugin because it's a completely different business logic, business scenario. I'll create a different plugin. I'll create a separate plugin step for it. And well, I'll just use my first solution. I'll just use my first solution because I already have that plugin assembly in there, and I'll just add another step in there. Nothing can go wrong, right? But unfortunately, no, something can go wrong indeed. And what you can see here is that the solution failed to import. We try to download logs, try to see what's happening. Why does this happen? We don't want this, right? Everything works perfectly before. Why can't I import the solution again? But the messages are not exactly informative. You can see that it failed for some reason, but you don't really know what happens inside, right? If we look at the exception, we can see only this line, which might be a little helpful. We can see that the second plugin in the first solution is not found in this assembly. But it doesn't make sense because we already have this plugin in our assembly, and the assembly is included into the solution. So what's the catch here? Why does it work like this? Well, yeah, doesn't make sense, right? Why is this happening? Well, let's try to calm ourselves and try to find the nirvana and try to calmly analyze things and see what's actually happening inside. Yeah, so we can just look at the solution layers of our plugin. And what we see here is that there are 3 solution layers for the plugin, right? And what we're trying to do is that we are trying to import, or rather like implement a change into the lower solution layer, right? But the system works in a way that it asks the top layer first. Hey, do you know about this plugin step? And the top solution layer says, no, sorry. So the exception is thrown, and you cannot really import your solution anymore because, well, the top layer takes the precedence, right? And that's the most active one. So nothing you can do about it. And you cannot really add your plugin step to the solution 3 because it doesn't really conform to the changes or the components that are in there. So you have to create some kind of hacks, or you have to import another solution on top of it so that your changes can be applied. Yeah, but if you really need to import this solution, the only way to do this is to import here first, and then import here. Like you can add your plugin step here, and then you can add your plugin step here, and only then your solution import will succeed. Yeah, so pretty troublesome thing if you ask me. And what's what's the most frustrating here is that these kinds of issues, you cannot experience them right away, right? They happen only after some time, after you already laid out your solution structure, and changing it might be very hard in the future. Yeah, and this is just an example of what your solution structure might look like if you have no no choice. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, well, this case is discussed. Like, let's separate ourselves and try to consider another one. Let's say you have to use a unsecure configuration and secure configuration inside your plugins, right? So you create a plugin that's using those two things inside. In my case, again, for ease of understanding, we're just putting those two into our message lines on the contact entity. Right. Yeah. So, and just in case, that's how you can set unsecure and secure configuration, right? And if you look at the Microsoft documentation, and if you know by experience, unsecure configuration is actually transferred along with your plugin step. So once you do the import into a target environment, unsecure configuration will stay here, but secure configuration, it will be cleared. So you'll have to set it again in your target environment, right? Yeah, so that's our testing dev environment. Well, it works pretty good, right? We have set unsecure configuration and secure configuration values, and we tested the plugin, and worked perfectly. So let's go and test this in QA, right? We can see that the solution import has completed and everything's fine. But when we test this, actually what we see here is a little bit different from what we expect, right? Because our unsecure and secure configuration was this, and right now it's that. It doesn't make sense, really, right? If we look at the plugin configuration in plugin registration tool, we can see that the unsecure configuration is set and secure configuration is not set, actually. But yeah, so let's look and see, right? We have updated the DLLs. What assumptions we have right now? We have updated the DLL with the latest code, and we have updated the plugin step, and we imported as managed environment, as managed solution to a higher environment, be it your production or QA. Import has been completed successfully. There's no actual errors or anything like that. And we haven't found any active solution layers on the plugin step or the plugin assembly. And we can actually see our changes. That's the most interesting part, right? We can see that unsecure configuration is there. So that must mean that our step has been updated, right? That the plugin assembly has been updated. So should it work? No, it doesn't work. Why? Well, because we actually kept the same solution structure as in the previous example. You see that we are importing the solution 1. So if we look at the solution layers, we can still see that the solution 3 managed layer is applied on top. So that's the solution layer that is actually active, and doesn't really mean how many times you re-import your lower solution layers. They won't take effect until you import a new solution. Yep. Welcome to multiple solution world. And yep. So, okay. We say, screw it, I'll import a new solution to apply the solution layer on top of that, and so my changes can take effect, right? So you do this, and you remember that you forgot to set the secure configuration. You really need to do that because, well, your plugin will not work if you don't set the secure configuration. So you test it, and everything works perfect. You can close the task and drink a beer on a Friday night if you're into beer, or watch a movie, whatever. Everything's good. Yeah, but time comes, time passes, and there's new requirements. You have to update one of the your existing plugin step, right? You notice that one of the filtering attributes is missing, and you have to add it. You can see that it works. And yeah, by the way, while we're at it, we can fix another bug in our solution that's contained in the same assembly. So, well, we do the changes and we import it in the solution 3, right? Because it's at the top level. You have to make sure that that the changes take effect. You already learned on your previous mistakes. So you test it, and what do you see? You see that the changes did not, in fact, take effect. And well, what's happening? Why? You look at the plugin. You look at the plugin configuration, and you can see that the filtering attributes are not changed, and also that bug isn't fixed. What's going on? Yeah, our rage does not know bounds. Because we spend like a day or maybe more to debug these things sometimes, to troubleshoot them. Yeah, so, well, usually the first place to check is solution layers. And what we see here is that we have created an active layer. And active layer is actually created when you set the secure configuration for your plugin. Doesn't make sense, I know, because it's empty, right? It's not supposed to be this way, but it works this way. You create an active layer whenever you set the secure configuration. So what happens if we actually remove it? So we remove the active layer, and well, we see that the filtering attributes have updated, but the config stayed. So everything's good now again. But yeah, that's also a thing to look out for. In general, I would not advise using unsecure or secure configuration at all, because yeah, we can see that it works. Because the unsecure configuration also creates an active layer. But once you delete that active layer, the insecure configuration gets reverted to the previous state. Yeah, so, well, the main lookouts, right? Main points of this talk is that, well, basically, you should plan everything beforehand, right? I cannot tell, like, there's no general formula on how you want to organize your solution, how you want to organize your assemblies, but you have to understand what consequences your decision bring. And yeah, hopefully this talk helped you with maybe understanding some of the peculiarities of managing your assemblies. Yeah, but that's not all. Sometimes we have production issues, right? And we try to fix them as soon as possible with the least effort imaginable, just so we don't interrupt our business processes. So yeah, that's my advice. Any change that creates an active layer is highly unadvised. Just try not to do this, because you don't really know, well, if you can revert it in the end. But if we look at the plugins, especially, well, what we can do, if you really need it, you can completely re-upload the assembly. This will create an active layer on your assembly, but you can remove it and it will revert your DLL contents to the previous state. And then you can also do some plugin step updates. You can update a bunch of fields like calling users, filtering attributes, and others in this list without any consequences. I mean, you can remove active layer later, and this will be fixed. Like you won't have any long-lasting consequences for that. And well, this is actually what cannot be reverted, execution order. You cannot, the execution order is not reverted after you remove an active layer. You will not be able to do this. And well, of course, the secure configuration either that we discussed previously. Yeah, and another thing to note is plugin images do not affect the solution layers. Well, if you change the plugin image, it will not create an active layer at all. But this also means that next time you import a solution with your plugin step, and it will rewrite all the changes you do in your plugin image. Yeah, and other fun stuff that cannot be reverted with active layers, right? Calculated fields and rollup fields. If you create an active layer for them, you're in for a big trouble. Like every time you have to do some change, you have to spend like, I don't know, like extra effort to do this. You cannot remove active layers for embed templates, and sometimes even removing active layers for flows fail. Maybe there's also more components that don't support active layer removals, but that's enough for me to just make a decision to not to create active layers in production environment. Yeah, and as a bonus, there's also a ribbon debug tool. If you want to check the solution layers for ribbons, you can always use this one if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know if it exists. Sorry. I reckon this presentation will be shared, and all those links are clickable, so you can read more about those things. Yep. So that's it, and that's the end of my talk. And thanks everyone, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Dmitry. I've seen no hands, no questions in the chat. So as for now, I will stop the recording, and if there are no other topics or questions, we can